I am live. Well, I tried to invite you over, but I haven't figured out this YouTube live thing yet, so that'll come. So I had something come through me that was really, really big, and it was about interdependency. And it's such an easy concept. What I explain to people about what interdependency is, and a formula that you can actually use in order to get yourself to an interdependent state. But it's very esoteric, and you don't really know it until you experience it. And so let me just unwrap that a little bit, and then I'll explain what just came through me was that. So if living in the control paradigm, within a control paradigm, you're in this imbalance. You're in an imbalanced state because one person is being controlled and one person is controlling. Okay? So you are playing the game of control. So the way it's defined is, in our culture, if you use the term narcissist, when you're in a narcissistic state, you are thinking of yourself before you're thinking of other people. If you're in a codependent state, then you're thinking about others before you think of yourself. And so how do you balance that scale? Well, you balance it in every moment you think of other people just as much as you think of yourself. It's a balanced state. It seems like that would be the obvious answer or formula to things. That way we have this give and take, this beautiful, but that's not what happens in our culture within the control paradigm. If people were interdependent, I would imagine that we would live in a completely different world. And that's why I'm sharing all this with you. So here's the point is that my mentor gave me this formula years and years ago. And I didn't just wake up and understand the control paradigm. I didn't, when it was introduced to me, it was just as ambiguous and like beyond my comprehension. It wasn't until I started, rubbing up against my own experiences in life, and then I would look at a situation and say, was I asking too much of somebody, or was I not asking enough for myself? That's how you figure it out. So it's been a process for me to unpack that, to really finally, like, clear as day, watch how this plays out in our world. And I'm extremely sensitive now to feeling the game of control. So when control comes into my world, I literally can feel if somebody's kind of trying to get me to enter into like a dramatic narrative that they might have going on, and I can actually feel that. And I can feel it the other way too, where a codependent wants me to like take the lead, and it's both. I feel both of those energies really well. But you don't feel that until you act. It's not that you know the formula, that you feel the formula, that you feel it in life. You feel what it feels like when you're thinking too much of yourself, or when you're not thinking enough about yourself, which is oftentimes a big deal especially with people pleasers. There is this balanced state. So what I came to today, anyway, to unpack this is that, how did I go from one place to the other place? How did I go from being completely unconscious of the control paradigm to the fact that now I can see it and know that I don't have to participate in it? It doesn't have to be part of my life at all. People will bring it to me, but that's how I manage my own boundaries. And, I send people where they need to be. They're not in the right company if we're not jiving on that control level. Most of the time, people actually leave my life because it's uncomfortable for them, because I'm not playing the same narrative as them. So how, but what I want to try to, what has been coming to me is that we really want to awaken, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I want people to get this quicker. So something that like downloaded big into me was, if somebody, I posed this question to my mind, and I said, if somebody said, are you a confident parent, that you're doing the best that you can? Are you? And I'm extremely honest, because what I know about the unconscious is, what I'm unconscious of is I'm going to contaminate my daughter, and I'm going to contaminate her world. So that kind of puts you in this kind of scary place of, where you could be stepping on eggshells. And if you're stepping on eggshells, then you're not being a good parent. That goes back into that formula, and we have to get ourselves back up. So how could I face somebody? And so the way that I pose this to myself is, how could I face somebody if I had to face my own soul and be completely honest and true? Oh God, I just completely, see, I'm a little bit stoned. So I just lost my train of thought, and I was going somewhere great. So if you were following that and you lost it, I'm so sorry. Let's see if I can get it back. If I'm honest with myself, and if I'm honest with myself, when I say confidently, I am a great parent, could I look myself in the eye and into my own soul and make that pledge to you and to myself? And I can, because I understand how the unconscious works. I'm unconscious of it. So I'm only guilty of the things that I'm conscious of, and act out anyway, at least in my own mind that way. What I'm unconscious of, it's what I do with when I find out what I'm unconscious of. That is the important part. So that just ripped into this idea of, why could I say that? And this is what I would say to you. It's because I'm raising my daughter in an interdependent household. I'm going to say that again. I'm raising my daughter in an interdependent household. So what does that look like? What does that look like unpacked? It's like intermittenary. I can't say that word right now. Anyway, I had this idea of it. But you basically would declare that your family is going to move to figure out together, to play together in life, to figure out this process of, if dad comes and everybody thinks that he's being unreasonable, then in an interdependent household, you have a family meeting and dad says, okay, let me hear your side of the story. And then dad really listens. And then you challenge each other to really listen to one another, to understand where the other person's coming from. And that beautiful truth that people will speak to that will speak to your own soul and into your own journey. And you'll uncover more of what you're unconscious of, the things that contaminate the world of how the ego wants to play out in the world. And so, yeah, I mean, this was just a gigantic download today, that I've been trying to introduce something to people, and it's been so ambiguous, and trying to give them examples of how to play with it in life and that sort of thing. But to find people to do it with, and if you don't have a family, if you're completely single like myself, oh no, I'm not. I guess half the time, I guess I'm single by myself. Sorry, again, I'm a little stoned. And now I lost my train of thought. That was not nearly as important, though, I think. And if I recall correctly, I've already spoken to it. So this is what it was. I got to the point of making these live videos because I challenged myself to just be me and just like let people see what's happening in my world and how I'm navigating interdependency. And I'm just damn really surprised that I'm sitting here pretty stoned. I'm getting more, it's like really kicking in here towards the end. And I'm going to post this, and I'm completely comfortable with doing that. And this is fun. It's a hard process getting to the point of being as open as I am now. But we're gonna fill those gaps and help people realize that there's just another way to look at the world. The other way is not wrong. It just is one way to look at the world, and there's a whole different world way to perceive the world. And I'm dedicated to hopefully doing whatever I can. A little magic that I bring as my individual self will unfold and help people in their lives. Well, it helps me unfold as well. That's the cool thing about interdependency. There's always a winner.